Good afternoon. I'm Onisa Klein here at the GBTA broadcast studio, and joining me today, all the way from Auckland, New Zealand, is Darrin Grafton, who is the CEO and co-founder of Serko. Darrin, welcome.
Thank you very much.
It's great to have you.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
A little warmer than Auckland, I'm sure.
A lot warmer.
Hope you're not melting.
Sometimes you feel like it,
Yeah,
but
I know.
it's good to be in here with
It
everybody.
is. It is.
Yeah.
Well, thank you again for
Thank you.
joining us and spending a few minutes with us. I know there's a lot of exciting things happening in the travel industry and in this space in particular.
It's just good to be back, isn't it?
It really is. It
Yeah.
really is. There's nothing like face to face, right?
yeah.
In person.
Yeah.
So on that note, looks like business travel is coming back as we're nearing recovery levels of 2019. And I know we all look forward to the day when we're not comparing to 2019, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When there's a new, when we get around that corner where we don't constantly reference back to it.
I think for us, this is probably the first year where we probably won't compare. We had such a strong recovery last year, even though it was kind of almost only a partial year because borders really opened up internationally May, June, July for us, and so but we saw such a strong recovery, and the spend in Australasia seems to have actually come back. The volume's not quite there because of the high inflated pricing for inflation, but it is still, we're seeing pretty strong recovery that's come through into there.
So on that note, what role do you think that technology has played in powering business travel out of the pandemic?
I think we all, it's quite, I would put it in two parts. It was a little bit scary seeing everything come back online so quickly as well. So everything had to scale back, but technologies had to shift very, very quickly. We've got a lot smaller groups of people traveling because we're not in premise, so we need to get smaller groups to smaller locations. There's whole NDC shifts. The buyers are now looking for change because they've gone through 3 years of a pandemic, and their employees and travel bases actually changed at the same time, and a lot of people have changed in those organizations at the same time. So technology is playing a real key foundation to build the success of the new programs coming out of COVID. So we have a lot of responsibility to keep innovating as well.
Right. Keep pushing things forward. As you say, there's been like layer after layer of change, right?
Yeah, it's just constant.
It's just
at the moment.
constant.
Yeah.
So long term, how do you see human beings and technology working together to deliver better experiences to businesses, travel managers, and individual travelers?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really key question because we seem to have a lot of technology stories, and we've got to have a lot of buyer stories and a lot of traveler stories. My thing is the technology should, in past, be forgotten about, and we should use it because it creates the best experience for us to do. And so, by doing that, we want to make sure the travel management company become truly experts in sourcing. It's one of the only categories when you look at procurement that's outsourced. A company outsources travel and then uses an expense tool to mop up everything else and report on it. But travel is this passionate category that we all own together, and that human element of how our experts that are in the travel community can actually provide their value to the procurement people, and then the technology and everyone assist together. And we want to bring also a little bit of the digital human into play. We've been demonstrating that at our booth, where you can sit there and talk to a digital human that can take some of that frontline servicing as well. So we think technology and the human element is always going to play a huge part. I mean, our value and our purpose is to bring people together. That's kind of what Serko's been about.
Right.
So we see this huge play in
Right.
that.
And I always think of travel, it's such a personal experience,
it is,
right?
yeah.
And that's why it's very interesting. And then how do you integrate the technology piece into it as you describe it? So
and people like to talk to people when they get stuck.
It's
and
so
they
true.
Need help. It's
I'm one of those. I hit zero, 0. So if we're thinking specifically about Serko, how do you find the right balance between innovation and a human touch in your work with customers?
Yeah, so we've got people always say to us, your technology's great, but your people are 11 out of 10. Serko's built its culture on being connected to the customer and trying to drive and make sure we understand the customer through customer advisory forums, bringing Xeno Labs to life so people can get their hands on the technology and tell us how that actually works. Also with our work with Booking.com, as they've taught us all of the stuff that helped make them successful in building phenomenal client experience, they've been able to teach us about how to experiment and how to drive this type of technology and thinking to say that, you know, not everything you think about will be right, that the
Right.
users will actually want to use. You have to try and find how you connect with them and maybe iterate a few times to find out the true thing that actually makes the difference for them. So being connected to the customer in multiple ways through technology, through experimentation, through what we're doing, it can play a key part in building the ideal trip and really learning where friction is. You know, like I said, my goal is to leave home and come home stress-free in a travel
Right.
journey. That's quite hard with disruption and everything occurring, but it's our job to solve that with everybody in the industry. And I think that's where everything's got to connect together. And that's why I wake up. I wake up to try and solve that problem. So I've been doing it for a long time.
Good. Well, it sounds like you enjoy doing it
I
too.
do.
A little laboratory. You're constantly experimenting, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, Darrin, thank you so much
Thank you.
for spending a few minutes with me today. And I know there's a lot of exciting things on Serko's horizon,
Yes.
and wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Monisa Klein here at the GBTA Broadcast Studio.